Evening, everybody. I don't know how long this will last. I have to get up in the morning as usual, as I have for the last 3 days, which has been hell because for whatever reason, trying to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning is a pain in the ass for me. But sorry it's so late. I wanted to do this during the day. Then I slept instead because I didn't get any sleep last night. So, and then I had to go do some stuff for my new job, which will be kind of the topic for the night. Hence why I'm doing an animal. So, at least right now, I haven't seen anybody say anything else yet. You're always welcome to add more. I don't care. I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes because I gotta check some stuff anyways. And then I'll also show you uh, how things have been going since the last time I streamed. Um, for for stuff. It's the order of the night. Okay, good, it's working. Um, here we go. God damn it. I have too many windows open. It might be why things get laggy and shit. Still getting a little antiquated and whatnot, so. Ta-da! For anybody who wasn't here for the last stream, this is how I do it. You just put it in here. Last call, round call. Tell me what you want to see me draw. Be creative. It's still going to be an animal. I'll make it an animal. Doesn't have to be a real animal, but I'll make it an animal. Uh, and I like challenges. Somebody said cat girl. You might be a little disappointed when I just draw a female cat, but maybe you're into that. I don't know. You don't get to dictate what comes out. You just dictate what I get ideas off of. That's why one of them is a Spider-Man. That one might be fun and horrifying. You thought I was going to give you pictures of Spider-Man. I'll give you something. I'll give you something. But anyways, anybody who's here, speak now, however, hold your peace. I'm pretty used to chat being fairly dead most of the time, but whoever says anything, whatever, it's free, open free space. Say whatever the hell you want. Call me terrible at video games and art, all you want. This is you're say whatever you need to. I don't fucking give a shit. That is the theme of the night. Um, art, bullshit, and animals. On that note, and I guess I'll just go ahead and what do we got for the night? Oh no. Now the real question is, no, I have an idea. Oh, it's gonna be horrible. Somebody asked for pictures of Spider-Man. I'll give you pictures of Spider-Man. Don't you worry. Got it. So the theme tonight, Spider-Man. Locked, cocked, ready to go. Today, my tablet's working, thank fucking God. I don't know what happened last week, it just wasn't working at all. Outside of being a mouse, a really big glorified mouse, so it was easier to draw with a mouse, but I didn't have any of the added stuff. Its sensitivity was all whack. It was a mess. But now it seems to be working, which is good. I don't know what happened last time, but if it ever happens again, I'll just fucking wing it like I did. It worked. Really fucked everything up, but it happens, and I know it happens. So, before we start, if you're wondering why I haven't posted the last picture, it's because life sucks, and no matter how much you want to get stuff done, it always takes longer than you think it's going to. I've been doing some work on it, and it's almost done. I feel like I got one more leg left on details, but it certainly is much more polished than it was before. And that night I was just, oh God, everything was bad. I was so fucked in the head and couldn't focus, it was not a good time. I mean, I try to rewatch my streams to see what I could do better, how my voice was, not to Where am I at? Where am I at? My house? Sorry, my brother just texted me. Um, my house? Streaming? Brother, are you there? Brother, are you watching me? Don't spook me. um, but, oh, fuck, I did it again. I need to not do that. A second, I'm doing text, trying to. God damn it. This is not the first time it's happened, too. I'm just like, oh, shit. Ah, son of a gun ass. Yeah. Good start, great start, right? You know? Also, there you go. You wanted a picture of a wolf handed. That's a wolf. It was a wolf on the body of a person. Zinogre's kind of like a wolf. It's a wolf wyvern. But yeah. I'll be starting here in a second. I'm doing some quick shit. But there you go. That's what last week was. Made progress. I feel like I'm gonna get it done this week. Don't worry. Um, Hopefully I won't start making a backlog of images, but hey, that already exists anyways, and I'm just coming to the consensus that I need to focus on getting anything done. So, yeah. Oh, is my brother in town? I hope not. I'll ask him. If that is the case, it'd be very disappointing, but then I would just stream tomorrow, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't get to see my brother often is the only reason why I'm like, shit! Damn it! No! But, I don't know. I'm gonna text and we're gonna start, and if we have to cut this short, we have to cut it short. But, oh, he's playing Insurgency. Well, shit. I'll let him know that I might be on later for a little bit, but he's wanting to play Insurgency, and I told him I'd play Insurgency with him, and whoopsie. Next time, Michael. You'll be on the next stream even, I bet. I mean, spoilers. I mean, I don't have a brother named Michael. Oh, I use the names of all my family and friends. What do I care? You're getting doxxed. Nobody will know who I am, but you guys will always be exposed. So let's get it started. I think tonight I'm going to try to do a colored. Since this is Spider-Man, you know, we're just gonna. There's your red. Here's your blue. There, I'll go ahead and turn that off for now. I don't always want to have that. That's much better. You don't always want to have the pressure sensitivity on, especially when you're building your palette. And the reason why is just it makes it easier. It allows you to keep the consistency of the color. You know, you don't have to worry about shit. Sorry, I gotta fix something. But you don't have to worry about things like tones, mid-tones from the from the pressure sensitivity. But I will be working, thank God I'll be working with the pressure sensitivity. I could not do the painting as well, I think, if I didn't have pressure sensitivity. But if if you're new, recently I got hired to a pet store. I was just like, I'm trying to continue a backlog of illustrations in science illustration and animal illustration. So I've been doing sketches whenever I can there. Every now and then I'll I'll start a sketch. Last two haven't been too good because I didn't have time for the first one, and the second one I was just too tired. 2 hours of sleep does not make for good mindset for drawing, unfortunately. As much as I like to believe it does. But either way, what kind of... Let's do an orb weaver. I have a couple ideas for this. I'm trying to decide if I really want to get disgusting, for lack of a better term, with this, or if I just want to kind of be like, it's a spider with Spider-Man's colors. I haven't decided yet. Because I could get really disgusting with this if I really wanted to. But, who knows? I haven't decided yet. Right now I'm just looking at the references I always do. That'll work. I wish I had a second screen. One thing I really want to get is a second monitor at some point. I'll need a bigger table or figure out something, but if I ever get a second monitor, it'll make a lot of things easier. It'll just mean I can stick stuff over there, and yay, it'll be so much better. Instead of having to leap between windows and whatnot. But yeah, all things considered, when I really think about how I was earlier and how I am now, I'm actually feeling much better. Not to say I was bad earlier, I just was really tired and really, really exhausted. And that's if there's anything that I've learned from, this is weird. You would think that college would teach you this, when in reality, I don't think it taught me this particular part of living in life very well, as opposed to most other things. Then again, there are two modes of college. I feel like there's you go to college, you're there, you live in the dorms and stuff, and some things are harder and you gotta live on your own, but it's not quite the same as really living on your own, is what I've learned, and that's no surprise. I'm not saying that fucking, I've figured it out. Nobody needs to worry about anything because I know the secret to the universe. Trust me, I know anybody needs to know that. But sleep habits are important, but sometimes you don't. Especially me. I don't know why my body likes to hate itself so much. I swear, people. I don't even know if it's a joke. Mainly because I kind of accept it, and it really is kind of it's probably not healthy, but I just don't really take care of myself very sensibly. But it doesn't mean that I completely am lazy with my body or anything. It doesn't mean don't try. It's just sometimes I gotta get up in the morning. Better go to bed early, right? Go to bed early, lie in bed anyways. It's great. It's one of my favorite pastimes. Though I'm actually starting to get a better habit of taking that and actually utilizing it then. So either A, I could get up, do something really extreme and get up and say start drawing. I haven't done that too many times, but it has happened in the past, and I'll say it's helped. I actually don't think that it's a very good idea for me to do something like that, because then it'll just keep me awake. And then I tried to the butt. I'm just gonna call it the butt. It's the abdomen. I'm just getting things started. When it comes to drawing and painting, especially, which I'm glad that I've started getting into painting because painting is faster. But you just gotta kind of start getting layered. You gotta get stuff down to really start working in art, and you just gotta kind of get in there and get in there. You can't really worry too much about stuff. Like I said, I don't know how fucked up I'm gonna get with this. I want this to stay. This is an education stream. This is educational. You're getting educated. That's why I'm drawing a Spider-Man, whatever that is. And I'm kind of being creative with it. But oh, what was I saying before? Oh, I'm gonna try to start using that time to actually, like, meditate maybe if I need to, so that way my body is not completely driving me insane. Um, because I've started that as a habit anyways. As of late, I've been trying to make it a point to be like, no, no, I'll just not think about things heavily, focus, kind of quiet my mind. I've kind of gotten into that. It has nothing really to do with Buddhism or any sort of ideology. It's just something I've started to do because I think it it's something that I can do. It's something I can spend my time doing, and it's probably better than worrying myself to tears. It certainly feels healthier because I mean, and I'm love my friends to death, and I'm glad that they put up with whatever fucking acidity I put them through. So, like, I I feel like though, to be fair, everyone overthinks things, but I certainly am the type to be like, it's a weird two-way street with me. It's like on one hand, I know I'm fucking either being dramatic or it's not as big of a deal as I'm making it, but on the other, and that usually when I overcome it, I'm like, yeah, I was being an idiot. But it still bothers me. Stupid bullshit bothers me. Stupid bullshit bothers everyone. I think the big difference is whether or not you continue to let stupid bullshit continue to bother you, because we all have petty shit that gets on our nerves, things that bother us, people that bother us. That's normal, you know. I don't, I can't really think of like things where they didn't get on my nerves and I had to I had to deal with it either way, even if it was frustrating. So, but yeah, and the other thing is a lot of you can there's nothing wrong with like seeking help for like things if you really don't know how to handle it. But I like to err on the side that I want to know how to handle my own body and handle myself and build that. So I mean, I feel like if you are willing to feel comfortable with yourself in a weakened state, there's nothing wrong with being weakened. I don't get the ultra health nut mindset. I really don't. And I've finally also come to learn that nobody's gonna really guilt trip me for not being a health nut. Like my friend, bless his heart, my old roommate, tried to get me into like weightlifting. I see what the appeal is. I personally am like, I just have my own ways of being active and getting exercise, and I'm a lazy fuck. I, but you know, really, being a lazy fuck is still a choice. You can do that, and all things considered, I'm still not a complete and utter waste of space. I just, you know, don't fucking care sometimes. People are allowed to do that. By the way, I'm basing this off of an orb weaver, is what I'm basing this off of. So, and I'm trying. I haven't talked to. Well, not talked to. I've talked to Mitch recently. Dude, Mitch is one of my best friends, and I miss him to death. He no longer lives in Lawrence. He's not dead. Um, but no, he was my roommate back in college for my freshman year of college, and I I to this day miss spending time with him. So, good guy, great biologist, real chill. Really liked to play the guitar. Very good at it. Much better than me. In college was like comprised of me trying everything but what I was actually good at, I feel like, which is really disappointing. I tried to learn guitar, tried to get into music. You want to know what I realized? I suck at those things. It's just not something I really do well. Which, to be fair, is kind of understandable given my personal skill set. I mean, it's you can't really be good at everything, but I've come to admit the fact that yeah, I don't need to be good at everything because there are things that I am actually really good at that I rather enjoy doing anyways. And somebody else wants to make music, they can make music. I have ways to interact with people that are different. But yeah. Oh, probably. You have to understand that I don't make quality content. I all of my stuff is shit. I wish. I want to I want to get better equipment at some point. It just is not really a thing because I'm fucking just now getting a job again and it's not going to start paying well at all, so I need to focus on, the essentials. So it's not really going to be quick for anything, unfortunately. But yeah, like music is music is the art form that I'm a very technical person. I really am. I work well with my hands. Mm, I don't know, like, people are much more interested in this kind of concept than really I even am, which is like left brainness, right brainness, because I feel like I have a weird mixture of both and deficiencies in places where you wouldn't expect deficiencies, like actual vocabulary and word comprehension. Those are my actual deficiencies. It's rather upsetting given how, in reality, I have a lot of skills in both mindsets that I use very, very well, like in both sides of my brain. But the actual individual parts are kind of busted. Um, but music is the one that I can't really wrap my head around how you just do that. Because I can make noise, but I don't know how, like, even one person can see multiple instruments and know how to make them all work in tandem. Like, art production or music production is something that just kind of blows my mind in general. It's a concept that's really foreign to me. But it's also one that I'm like, it's not my field. It's not where I really excel at all. It's not something I not don't find disinteresting. It's just not something it's really hard for me to visualize. Being such a meticulous and almost visually oriented individual, which I am. I am huge, huge. I am really acute to detail, but it's mainly just visual detail is what I really am good at. And that's something that, I'm sure it just takes time in getting used to, which is fair. Because for me, music is as a form of expression that I appreciate, I guess. Because there's still like, songs that will put me in moods and feelings that, no other form of art can really do. So, but it just is it's very much probably like to a musician as it is to a painter, an artist. Like it's just they know how to manipulate the medium, and that takes practice and skill, actually being good at something. So, which I am not. Listen, I just do this because enough people were like, "Hey, Link, you," or well, not even enough people. I was like, I like sharing stuff. Sometimes I feel like, especially some days, I'm just can't get a good rhythm, and you're just like This is a thing that I care about a lot and do a lot, and no, I do well. But just some days you can't. You can't make yourself be better than whatever your mood is for the day, which is really frustrating. Because as somebody who wants to see this grow into something more tangible, I guess, where I can apply this in more places faster and more efficiently, there are just still those times where I'm like, I can't make my hands do the thing. My hands refuse to be good at anything today. And it's really frustrating because I don't think that's an excuse either. I feel like that is still a failure on my part. Like I should have done something. I should have just fought through it and at least tried. Because you can't learn how to overcome those issues if you just let them shut you down. But you can't keep doing something forever. Keep bashing your head against a brick wall. Sometimes I've learned that sometimes walking away from something and being able to come back with it, a fresh mind, fresh eyes, it really does help a lot of the anxiety and stress, because sometimes you'll be whatever, mood off, you won't be able to focus, so you won't be able to see the things that you should have been doing or should do. And you come back to me like, yeah. And occasionally it's just kind of like, man, was I drunk? Was I retarded? What was the issue? But at the end of the day, you gotta take it in strides. You gotta, because even though I'm feeling better now and today, I'm still I'm kind of struggling at the moment to be it also doesn't help that I can't really, I'm just kind of winging more of it than I even necessarily feel like I should be. I'm also kind of rushing to get down some media so that way I can really start laying into it. But I think I'm starting to chill out now. Because what I'm basing this off of is just an orb weaver, and I'm just messing with the color palette. Because why not? I might make it a little spooky near the end, but that might be an added. I did want this to be focused on more realistic illustration. Note, what I mean by that, and I want to define that real quick, is realistic illustration for me. Whenever I ask, give me some stuff to draw, and the theme is my scientific illustration, I do not mean give me a specific creature. Be creative. You want to see me do a scientific illustration of a fictional creature? Do it. Challenge me. Those are the kinds of things that are going to help me encourage more of a way to challenge my skill set, given how I want to apply it as well. Creature design is something that I love. I fucking love doing creature design. I think it's truly a task of knowing how to make something look cool without it being over-designed or unrealistic to exist. In my opinion, the worst creatures are those that are just in a way so that way they serve some function rather than a way that makes sense biologically. All of my favorite creatures, even if they're monsters, always have some grounding to them. They aren't just fantastical beasts all the time. It might explain why I like games like Monster Hunter so much. They do so much work into working into the ecology of their creatures, even though their creatures are frickin' dragons and mythological. Well, they're not mythological. They don't treat them as mythological. They treat them as animals. And that still applies to fictional creatures and creature design. And that's something that I really like to do, as well as something that I want to expand on. But you can't do that if you only, say, draw real animals. And that's kind of that's the point whenever I have these, I'm like, challenge me, give me a challenge or a joke. I don't care. I'll still be creative and be like, hey, try to get me to draw a cat girl. I'm gonna fuck with you. I ain't gonna draw a cat girl. I'm gonna just draw a female cat. It'll be naked and you can't get banned because it's just a cat. If you want to jack off to a cat, well, that's your decision, but yeah, you go right ahead. But yeah, like, and my art, I take my art seriously, but I don't take my attitude about my art seriously. So don't think I'll be like, no, you can't say that. No, I can't do that. I'll find something. I'll find some way to make it something that I can actually make and show. I just don't be disappointed when I'm like, I'm not going to do what you think I'm going to do. But that's kind of my sense of humor anyways. It's just, you give me an idea and I'm going to run with that idea in any direction that I want to. This is a non-binding contract, and you're stuck with whatever I decide. And that's kind of the fun of it. That's part of the reason why I enjoy doing these. Is a lot of it is a test of my creativity, like with this. Being Spider-Man, it's like, how do I make a spider that would be Spider-Man? And he wanted pictures of Spider-Man. I had a couple of ideas for what I could do to make the joke of it being Spider-Man. I might add a layer and do it later. It'll be, because if anybody's seen some of my other works, I've done things like a mantis with human hands. Because why not? Stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoy doing stuff like that. Yeah, like this is just, I took an orb weaver. I have a picture of an orb weaver. And I'm just kind of going at it now, because I got kind of not so much a stick, but a personal philosophy with art, which is artists, references are important, but you want to have a degree of self-reliance in your craft, if that makes sense. Like, I get that you should look at what other artists have done, and you should understand how they did them. And you should look at references and be like, okay, so that's what that looks like at that angle and whatnot. But there's a certain point where you have to be able to be like, no, I need to know how I would draw this thing. And again, there's a respect for artists, past artists and present, anyone who inspires you. There's nothing really wrong with imitation. That's an important part of learning. One of my favorite illustrations I ever drew was based on another artist. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name. I'm really bad with names, but if you're not new to me, that's not news. And I fucking throw stones at me all you want. I'm still not going to learn names. But I did a caricature of him, but instead of, focusing on the reference, it was always a study of, okay, so how do I utilize the medium to look this way? And you can't spend too much time, at least for me, and what I think makes my art identifiable, too much time lamenting over if it looks correct, with reference to your reference material. Again, reference material is important. I'm not discouraging it. I think I still need reference material. I was stupid for not using it as long as I did. However, on the flip side, it gave me the appreciation to feel that all of the things that I made were truly, on some level, unique and original, even if they were inspired by something else. Because I didn't look up images of that thing most of the time to create it. It was always, even if it was of something I enjoyed, or fan art, because you should also make things that you like and want to use as practice. I still tried to limit looking up how that individual looked, and always tried to err on the side of no. What do they look like in my mind's eye? And I feel like that's still a skill that you should practice along with how to read references and stuff. And one of the main reasons why I was so... You're getting a picture of Spider-Man. What the fuck? Wait, what do you want, man? Here, I'll give you a taste of what I thought of really doing. And I'll make it on a different... Because, again, while I appreciate the challenging theme, I was like, I'm not going to air away any sort of suggestion, but I'm always going to modify it to where I'll just make it to work. But you ready for some fucking horrifying shit? Arthur's friend would love this. This is like the definition of too many hands. Just get a little quiet there. Just really, just gotta get in there and get in there, Sometimes, when somebody asks for pictures of Spider-Man, when he wants pictures of animals, I want to make that individual regret the decision. Mutual regret. That's what this relationship is. You have fun with that little, that could go places. We'll see where that goes. I might actually take that somewhere. We'll see. That's the idea I had, and I couldn't contain myself, because that also implies that I need to finish the entire picture in the night, and I'll be honest, I don't know if I'll be able to do that, because I have to get up in the morning. I'm going to try to go to bed by fucking 12. No, I'll probably go to bed at 1, maybe 2. Hopefully try to get 6 hours. Only get 3 again, I'm sure, but meh. Damn it, I was supposed to call my parents. I'll do that in the morning. Just be like, what do you guys want to do? Because I gotta do stuff. But yeah. Oh god, turn off too many hands. We ain't having any of that shit. I don't need to be... I don't need to be reminded of too many hands. Too many hands. The story behind Too Many Hands is a tale of So, one day I was hanging out with friends, and we were all playing a couple of board games, whatnot. It was just game night. Got together, played some board games and whatnot. We played like Secret Hitler and stuff. And one of the games we played, I don't remember what it was called, but the premise essentially was you took, I don't know, you took some note cards or whatnot. You had somebody write some topics on them, and then people had to they essentially they just oh wait, don't say no. Damn it! Sorry, I did that thing where I was coloring on the wrong layer. I was wondering why I was looking weird. So people had to it was kind of like charades. They had to describe who or what they were based on a topic. And it was my turn to pick the subjects, the things that they had to describe about themselves. And the topic was like band names or like songs that individual or thing could play. Well, because I have my reputation amongst my closest friends, who know that I have an unhealthy obsession with the amount of upper body limbs that an individual owns, my friend Arthur was just like, there better not be one that's no arms, Isaac, Link, shit. Nobody goes by that name in this house. But no, there better not be a no arms, Link. And I just kind of smiled at him and thought in my head, oh, don't worry, I know what I'll do. I got a good one for that, so that way I can subvert, because I like subverting my own bullshit. It's something I actually strive for, is making fun of my own shit. And there was just one, and it was perfect because he was the one who got it. Arthur was the one who got it. It just said too many hands. And since then, in that friend group, there was another guy. He just, when he was trying to guess what it was, he just couldn't. And Arthur just goes, "It just says too many hands." Because he was like, "I really like playing Pantera, anything with like a lot of drums in it, multiple guitars," and he couldn't figure it out, and he just goes, "It says too many hands," and that he just loves that. He just loves the idea behind too many hands. So there you go. Let it be known that continued anti-philosophy or anti-interest of things. You can't catch me with my own shit. I will always find a way to make even worse shit. I'm a very predictable eccentric, but it doesn't mean I like being that. I go out of my way to at least try to subvert myself and not just fall into my own pitfalls and personality traps. Which I'm rather actually proud of. I feel like it's something that distinguishes me. You really... I'm not the oh-so-random lol guy. I legitimately try to take things that people can associate with me and constantly try to subvert them in a way that you wouldn't expect without breaking character, I guess. And I don't mean that as I'm a fucking cartoon character. No, I mean character as in my personality. It is very much ingrained into my personality to be very esoteric. I'm just fucking whatever, for whatever reason, whomever outside of my parents, my creator decided to design my brain, as fucking busted as it is, decided to give me a really sick sense of humor and really just not give too many shits about how I handle and present myself beyond being a decent human being, which I do try. And I feel like I accomplished pretty well, given all things. Soapbox Banhammer, you can do all you want, but I'm still a good person, even though you guys are little shits, and you turn me into a little shit too. You'll never make me actually into a Nazi. Very close, though. You damn well tried. And I love you guys. Then again, I am a Cabalian. Nah, I like to err on the side that I'm not actually in the Cabal. I've just become a lackey of sorts. I do your guys' dirty work. I brush the toilets and do random hit jobs for you. In support of the Cabal, represent Hitler did nothing wrong. But, yeah. And if you were just like, what the hell are you talking about, Link, should I? Should I tell the greater populace about our little corner of the internet where we are a bunch of flagellating retards who don't really give a shit about what anyone thinks, and really do go out of our ways to redefine what it means to be an idiot. I feel like that's fair. Come on down to Shortbox Banhammer. We don't give a shit about shit. Just remember, anything can be ban-worthy. You could be banned for being smart. You could be banned for being a fucking retard. Just remember, you could post wherever you want. Any of it could be taken down at any time. That's why, if you follow me on Facebook, that's where that mentality comes from, and I'm bringing it with me because it's a very novel one. I like it. It's a very I don't actually give a shit mentality. It's, if you really found a way to get yourself banned, good job. You posted better than I did. Just remember, don't post anything that would liably get me banned because I want that honor. That's not your place to do that on my page. If Zuck's going to take us down, it's going to be my fault, not yours. But no, like that's a philosophy that I love Soapbox Banhammer because who cares? The whole premise it came from, based on its name, is the fact that soapboxes were getting to be such a pain that people didn't. The original founder just said, "Fuck it." People are gonna be this butthurt about literally every little thing on the planet. Why not make a place dedicated to the parody of banning? Why not make it a parody of the concept of being ultra sensitive, ultra protective, and from there, it's been a corner of the internet I really appreciate. I'm glad it really has been as strong as it has been because it's one of the best communities I've ever been with on the internet, and I've gone through quite a few. I was a member of the forums on here. I have a cool idea. This is the nice thing about palettes, you can move them around. I was a member of the original Primal Carnage forum for quite a bit. That's where I started getting some notoriety. I've been on the Spore forums. I was a Spore content creator and kind of well known for it, actually. I will admit. It'd be really funny to come back to it, like, all this time later. I would love to do a retro, old-fashioned Link. Make fun of Spore. Not that I think that Spore is bad. If anything, I think Spore is fantastic as a creator. It's just a terrible game. But I had a pretty decent following on Spore, surprisingly. To this day, I'm like, I was just a kid. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just making shit, and then people liked it, and I was like, why? Why would you do that to yourself? But yeah, it's so weird because I would say I grew up with the internet, but I grew up with it in a very particular way, in a peculiar way, where over time I just gained those more shitposty, behaviors over time. And I think that came with when I really started getting into different content creators that I hadn't seen before, and really got away from like kind of common or popular video content creators who really don't make good content. Because though I will admit, content creators I definitely miss are fucking. I miss guys like Mystery Guitar Guy. He was just a great guy. He was like somebody that he just seemed like a really chilled dude. And I wish I knew what he was up to, because I feel like that guy is a guy that you would be like, most people don't remember him. And it's a real shame, because he's a fantastic content creator. He made awesome stuff, and if you don't know who he is, look up his content now. I used to binge watch it all the damn time, and he legitimately was like one of my first exposures into like YouTube beyond just shitty fucking videos. That and Freddie Wong. But that kind of video editing is not even really viable anymore on YouTube, which is probably the reason why he and like Freddie and all of them have kind of like disappeared over time, which is a shame, because there was like this weird heyday of YouTube where content creation was legitimately original content. It was focused away from vlogs and high density videos, quantity videos, and more focused on what can an individual create, which is very sad, I think, because it means that, it makes me wonder how things would have gone differently if would Game Grumps, would Aaron be as strongly supportive of Game Grumps if things like animation was still heavily viable on YouTube? It really does make me think about things like that, because at this point, most people who animate on YouTube really don't animate for a living. I don't see it being a thing, and part of that is because YouTube is asses. They just completely fucked over their... Here, let me close that. There we go, that's better. Oh no. I have the worst sneezes. I do apologize. Good content. But yeah, like stuff like that, it just takes too long. And it's one thing if you're a hobbyist, and another if you're actually trying to get by on YouTube. You can't. It just doesn't fucking work anymore. And that's really it's really upsetting, because it's like, if things were maybe a little bit different, I would not be doing this on Twitch, I think, actually. Because there was a brief time where I was even like, I do have a YouTube page, and I use it actually fairly, kind of regularly. I don't... It can be an avenue that I can pursue, who knows. But it certainly is something that, as far as actual hobby goes, it is still just a hobby for me. But, it's really interesting for me to think about how YouTube's industry and how fucking shit they've been to their content creators, how it really has shaped what is made on YouTube and what is popular and what is good content or what is successful content. And it's really sad because, again, it means that it goes for a certain style of video and not actually what it was, which was creativity. It actually does kind of the opposite, since it's over quality. Creativity isn't as valued. Or the creativity is not the same. It's not creative like with animations. And that's really sad to me. It's like animators already have a tough time, and YouTube was a great outlet for that. There's so many just fantastic archived animations on YouTube, but you just don't really see anymore because nobody's going to make money off of it. the best you get are hobbyists. Again, that's fine, and I feel like that's still a great way to build skill and great way to get your name out, but I do agree that there was at least an option before where you could legitimately do stuff with your art and craft and get better at it, and then have it actually be growing. But you can't do that anymore because fucking YouTube is asses. And that's why this has been kind of a weird journey with everything regarding my social media background, because I'm definitely on the air of I don't like Facebook, but I'm also not like a fucking Nazi and don't really agree with the Facebook is, the devil and should never be used. Sure, I don't fucking like Zuckerberg and I don't like what he does, but it still doesn't mean that I can't use it and don't use it to great effect. It's been very useful to me. I believe that still at this point, the best way I'm going to gain exposure is on Facebook, for better or for worse. It's just the way things went. But, it's stuff like that it is a little frustrating, because I'm kind of like thinking of alternatives already for when when somebody gets a stick up their ass and reports my page for whatever reason. I'm thinking of alternatives so that way people can go places and continue to follow me. I've been working on my website again, though I've kind of fallen off with that because I've got busy with other things. I really need to stick to one project actually at a time. I feel I get really, really bad about, hey, I want to do this, and I also want to do this. Hell, I still got that fucking Zinogre armor that I want to finish, though. I feel like at that point, if that's the case, then I'm always going to have one major picture on backlog, and if I can't finish a picture, sometimes it'll just be, well, I tried and didn't really get finished. But that's also something that you kind of learn with time, is you need to, not everything needs to be finished or a masterpiece either. There's an element of learning to kind of both forgive and let go of your art. I saw this as a tip where the individual just said that he spent several hours, practicing on an image and then just deleted it. He didn't even save it. Separate yourself from your work. I think that is, at first I was very uncomfortable with it, not because I think I don't agree. It was more of, but then I need to feel like I actually finished my work. But he has a fair point. And also, I'm at a point where I'm like, I really want to focus on building my resume and my portfolio, and I can't waste every picture. But he has a fair point. You want to separate yourself from your art a little bit. You don't want it bogging yourself down. You don't want it to prevent you from being able to progress because of pretty much obsession. And that's something I don't want. I don't want to be obsessive over my art. I actually don't. Again, I'm very self-critical of my art in probably every way I shouldn't be. Way too hard on myself. I really wish, for example with this, for some reason, I don't know how it looks for you guys, but really for me, the legs are the only thing that feel like they've come out okay so far, and I feel like I've already wasted a good hour of time. But for whatever reason, that's just it. I think the thing that I want to develop and work on the most is not just being able to create things quicker, it's also being able to make something regardless of my mood and have it be at least, presentable. As well as get faster. I mean, that's part of the goal. But part of my effort is like, how do I make something even when I feel like it's not going to be the best thing I've ever made? How do I still make something look like good or correct? And that is really hard to do. I think that's extremely hard to do. it it takes an amount of self-discipline to really be able to say I didn't do that well, but at least I made something. At least it looks like something, even if it wasn't that good. And that's why I like these challenges where I'm like, no, I'll challenge myself. I'll do something I've never done before, something I've either not find uncomfortable, but certainly am not adept at, or because you can't learn new skills if you aren't willing to pressure yourself or try different things like painting, like different subjects. It's really annoying to me because I actually really like drawing insects and I like arthropods, but just sometimes you're like, I don't know what a spider is. What is a spider? Is that one of them 8-legged guys who, is all creepy and people hate for legitimate yet exaggerated reasons? Yeah, I know what those guys look like. They look like, apparently, they look like that. And again, it's really annoying because I feel like I'm not necessarily unique for that, and I don't think it necessarily means that I actually do suck. It's just for whatever reason, consistency is something I want to work on from a discipline aspect. It's just something I need to do. And I think with anything, discipline is the hardest thing to acquire when building any skill. Because it just requires you to be able to accomplish something consistently, and it is hard. Oh God, it's hard. Like, it's not impossible. Certainly, I've been working on my personal discipline when it comes to this because I realized what discipline is needed for, like, say, having just a standard job. But it just comes with time. You can't let yourself get too discouraged, because once you start getting yourself discouraged, because we all if unless you are a complete asshole narcissist, to which that you're being a complete asshole narcissist if you think this, like, I like to believe that people do actually are very humble and do constantly doubt their own personal skill, regardless of how they actually recognize that they're good at something. Because again, I think it's important because it keeps you from it keeps you in line in a way. It keeps you from being an asshole. And I know it's like really frustrating when you hear me or any artist go, I didn't really do very good. Doesn't seem to look very good. I don't know why I couldn't make something, and then no, it looks good. We are the ones who see everything that we do wrong, and we still question why we do those things wrong. You just, I know how to draw. I know I've drawn things like this before, but for some reason, it's it it just doesn't come to you that day, or it's not something that you really think about until you're in a situation where you're like, I should know how to do this. I have no reason to not be able to do it. So, and I think that alone is what kind of like what I wouldn't say discourages, because if anything, I think what ends up being the problem that most artists run into is they aren't actually prepared for it. They think they're like, I can do this. Art's fucking easy. I've been doing this since I was a babe, and I know how to draw with my eyes closed. Tip: if you really want to get practicing a drawing, practice your blind drawing. It really wasn't emphasized well enough to me, I don't believe, how important blind drawing is. If it would have been like, if they would have told me to do a blind drawing every single freaking day in any of the art classes that I had, instead of just being like, okay, we're going to practice blind drawing today. There's a reason why it's hard and why it's important. You want the best way to learn how to draw something without needing to feel like you need to force yourself to make something look correct. Blind drawing. I used to look at my teacher's blind drawings and was astounded. I was like, how do you not look at what you're drawing and make something like that? And recently, I want to say in the last 2 or 3 months, I made a partial blind where I was just focusing on something, just watching something and drawing on the side whatever came out of my hand. And it was one of the best it was one of the first real body drawings that I had done that looked extremely good. And I think the reason why that is blind drawings, your hand and your mind are really putting from pen to paper what you want, instead of like continually second guessing yourself, or trying to like imagine what this part of the body might look like and whatnot, because it really gets your arm in the habit of being, it gets your technique in the habit of being meticulous and precise without you needing to be corrective. And it allows you to work with more because it means the proportions are actually better. It means you're making something without really, it is much more ingrained. It's much more focused on your ability to make that and not your ability to copy it. And your ability to make something is usually what makes something stand out. It has nothing to do with realism. It all has to do with technique, I think. And it needs to be stressed. Technique is the most important part. And it's something you need to build for yourself. I know the statement, the best artists, good artists copy, best artists steal. Yeah, there's an amount of truth to that, and you should be studying artists. You should be, especially ones that inspire you. But you also need to actually build that technique for yourself. And if you want to differentiate yourself as an artist, you cannot rely on the homages of other people. You have to be able to figure out how your personal, creative, whatever, how you do that to set yourself apart from other people. The fundamentals are important, but how do you as an individual who creates things utilize those use those fundamental properties to make something unique? And that's what is more important, in my honest opinion. Because again, it's all about understanding how to make something look correct rather than copying. Because when you can make something look right based on your own perception rather than what your subject is, it means that you are making a more wholesome image, I guess. So it really does come down to like personal preference in a lot of ways, even for scientific illustration. And that's what I also think separates good artists from great artists, is how do you make your art your own? How do you actually express yourself in a way that is differentiated, And how do you utilize a medium in your own way, even though fundamental technique is still important. And there's a lot of stuff like that I can go on about that I've learned is, starters, don't stick to one medium. Don't fucking do it. I was stubborn and stupid. You should be practicing every medium you can get your hands on, and the reason why is not to be good at all of them. It is purely for the fact that you cannot learn different techniques if you do not try different media, because certain media are better at certain things that force you to try it. And if I hadn't tried painting, I would have never gotten. I don't think I would have. I would not be near half as good as I am at digital painting as I am, because I would be still stuck in that illustrator mindset where I got to work with lines, not colors. And it would be so much slower. That's a nice thing about digital painting. Painting in general. Painting, you just put colors to a canvas and just go. Oftentimes, like, and it's a little bit different, of course, with digital media. Digital media is a lot less permanent, of course, than, especially if you know how to, like, manipulate Photoshop and whatnot. Like, this was too big before, now it's a little small, so we'll go ahead and scale it back up a little bit. Like, you can do that. You can't really do that with a painting. But painting is still faster. The reason why painting is faster is because it really, it's a lot more about motion. It's a lot more about movement and stroking. You gotta get yourself a good stroke, if you know what I'm saying. You gotta learn how to really work the brush, get them pigments in there. But, you know, it takes practice, and you can't get that practice if you aren't willing to force yourself out of personal mindset, almost personal dogma, if you will. And I don't care who you are. It's not a judgment on your person. Everyone does it. Everyone has something that they're just like, I don't want to do it that way. It's new to me. It's uncomfortable. I've never done it that way. Why would I do it that way when I could do it this way instead? This way works better. And I fucking do that. I did it. It was to the point that we had painting in my illustration course, and I failed a project because I was just like, I can't get into this. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and I don't know what I'm doing right. It just was too much for me at the time. And that's fair. Like, that's a failure on my part. But learning how to paint has helped things like my shading ability, because now I understand how painting is about more manipulating pigments and manipulating your actual your media than it is just putting down lines in the right places. It's really much more about putting something down and then moving things around it and moving around the color itself. And now that I know that, I've actually gotten better at being able to control things like my line work, my penmanship with my penciling, things like that. And I would never have been able to do that if I hadn't tried to do more painting. And also, I just learned a very valuable, honestly, coloring book technique. I learned a very valuable technique in being able to create anything. Like, I now can make more things because I was able to get that branching out experience. So if you ever have a chance to work in a new medium, do it. And I mean that for anything. Medium is just any sort of substance you can work with. That goes beyond art. And you should always be finding ways to do things differently than you perceived them done before. And that's just, that's just learning. That's how you learn anything. I don't think I'm fucking being, I don't think I'm being, exaggerative. I hate my mind. It really is just like, what word you want to use here? Just use this word, you'll be fine. I'm not exaggerating. I know that I'm not a freaking genius necessarily, in that, in reality, other people are other people. We all would be dead if we weren't functioning individuals. I have much more respect than it seems like a lot of people do for other people. I'm I'm actually fairly like, no, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt 80% of the time and believe that you're not a fucking incapable individual until you have repeatedly shown that either A, you just don't want to change, or B, you try and just, I'm sorry, there's something ain't clicking. And even I have that. That's the same with music. And it is kind of interesting to think about that for me. So, also, I think when I scaled this, I put it on nearest neighbor, so that's why everything looks kind of like chalky now. So, whoopsie, was not paying attention when I did that. And right now I'm just focusing on getting all the legs. We'll get the, we'll do a little, now we're getting to some stuff I know. I think this is a true spider. I believe this is a true spider, though the orb weaver is. The phrase true spider is not scientific at all. What I mean by that is, if it is is it a spider or is it not? Because there are arachnids that are not spiders that look like spiders. Things like tarantulas, camel spiders aren't spiders, but they all are chelicerates. Chelicerates are known for their chelicera. And on a spider, the chelicerae are the little mandibles in the front. That's not actually their mouth. It's not technically their mouth. The mouth is the part where food goes in and is swallowed. Those mandibles are actually legs. They're limbs, and they're called chelicera. And for spiders, they're where the fangs are held. Science fact of the night. It's a little, these little bitty things. These are kind of big. They're much. If you look at like a camel spider is a great example of something that isn't a spider. That also is a good example of what traditionally a chelicera is. They have like these giant jaws. They have these. They look like big old mandibles, or like almost pincers, and that's actually what they are. They aren't a mouth. They aren't the chewing part. They are just these two very, very big, short, stubby claws that are close to their mouth. And that is the best example I can give of a chelicera next to like a scorpion. A scorpion also has chelicera. Those are the pincers, I think. Or they might be modified pedipalps. Pedipalps. I don't remember. I think it is the claws of a scorpion are their chelicera, though. And for spiders like this, the orb weaver, if these are the chelicera, I'm pretty sure they're the chelicera, because they're like the fifth set of legs. Arachnids don't technically have 4 sets of legs. They have 4 sets of walking legs. That's the important distinction for most spiders. Most arachnids actually have, like, I want to say 5 or 6 sets of legs that they use to move around and whatnot. And spiders have 4 walking legs, and then, maybe a pair of kind of like maneuvering limbs on their mouth. Like these might not even be the chelicera, and then usually the chelicera themselves, which are the closest to the mouth. And usually they're for like eating. They are for eating. They're for biting. It is the closest thing to a jaw that they have, but it's not a technical jaw. It's actually limbs, if that makes sense. It's like if our jaws were, instead of a lower jaw, we just had 2 hands. We're talking about too many hands again. Just have 2 hands, and those hands are used specifically for kind of mulching up food and then shoving down your throat. That's what chelicera are. You feel educated yet? You feel inspired to ever touch a spider? I think spiders, arachnids, are fucking cool. I think they're cooler than regular insects. Don't get me wrong, regular insects are really cool too. But Like, there's actually just something. It's like they're like the sharks. If they're like what sharks are to insects, or to fish, to bony fish. Arachnids aren't as common, but they're much older, and they've been around much longer than the actual insects have been. Sharks are really, really, really freaking old. They actually used to be one of the more common fish forms, and they are fish, but they were passed up by osteothixes, bony fish. They're chondrichthyes, cartilaginous. So that's how you tell them apart. You know, very simple. I can't believe other people don't do biology. It's all simple stuff. What are you guys talking about? You can see why I'm actually really excited to be at this job. Talking about animals is something that I really rather enjoy. It's like, I'm no Steve Irwin. I don't think I ever will be, though I did get bit by a parrot earlier and was just kind of like, you asshole. That's really what I was like. I was like, don't bite me, you fucker. Like, I drew blood and was kind of annoyed, but you get bit, hurt, kind of. I was a little nervous because I know what a parrot can do. Their bills are designed, specifically parrots are designed for cracking nuts. They're nut eaters. Anyway, he was being a bit of a pill, and I was trying to get him off my shoulder, and he just didn't want to leave. He was fucking with my... I was wearing a sweatshirt, and I was wearing a hoodie, and I had one of those drawstrings. He was fucking with the drawstring. And I was like, okay, I need you to get off, because I want to go do other things. I'm already a tired-ass, and I kind of want to do some drawing before I leave, and then I was going to get home and decide whether or not I was going to stay awake to try to actually stream. I wanted to stream earlier, but then I did, and I slept instead. But he was being a bit of a pill, and I couldn't quite get him off. And I finally started like being like, you know what, I need to move him. So I went to go grab for his claw, because actually, as far as birds go, I saw how, you know, the other, I'm not that timid around animals. I really don't have much exposure to birds. Birds are kind of the new ground for me when it comes to animal handling. But I saw how they handled one bird. I was holding that bird first, and she's a gem. She doesn't give a shit two ways. She doesn't care as long as you don't drop her. But otherwise, if you have a tight grip on her, you can throw her. I saw somebody pick her up and just start throwing her around her head. I was just like, okay, so that bird actually enjoys that. Now I know how comfortable that bird is with being moved and touched. This bird, however, was very preoccupied with my string, and really, really did not want to get off me. And I was like, so I went to go move him, and he gave me a good nip. And I was like, asshole! But you don't want to fuck with those birds, because they crack nuts. You know? With their beaks. They can very easily do some damage. However, my general philosophy is you don't want to show resistance. You don't want to show timidness, actually, with most animals. And I'm not here to be... I want to own a pet at some point. Any pet. Dog, cat, reptile. It doesn't really fucking matter. I want to own a couple pets at some point. And the way you actually generate a mutual respect amongst a creature is you don't show fear of them, I guess, if that makes sense. You don't fucking torture them. You don't torment them, of course. But you also don't show that their attempts to fight you are going to bother you. And that's important. I think that is more important in actually establishing a respect between you and any living thing. You don't show that them being little shits is going to get their way. You know, it's kind of with children too, but that's another thing entirely. But you don't. That bite, I was kind of annoyed because I was like, I do want to get you off of me, and I do want to be more forceful, but I really don't want to lose a finger on the second fucking training day. So I just didn't know really what to do. However, I wasn't like, I'll never carry that bird again. Might be hesitant. I'd be like, I'd rather hold chicken because chicken doesn't want to bite my finger off. But you know, it happens. That is part of it, and that's part of the maturity and knowing like it isn't even about um, you know an animal. It's being able to resist an animal even when it's being a fucking asshole. Um, because that is a dominance. That's you straight up bit me. What's the worst you can do? You fuck. So, and I think that is not like I still liked that bird. I thought raptor was still cool, but I prefer chicken now because chicken won't bite me, or at least I don't see comparatively. I feel like I even accidentally putting the other bird away, though I was still able to do it on my own, kind of like let them fall a little. I was like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oopsie. So I'll be more careful next time. But you know, but I don't see any reason why I can't work with that bird more and establish a better relationship with it. Whereas the other one, I'm kind of like, we'll look at him. I'm gonna be very adamant about if you want to pick up one of the parrots, pick up this one. She's not actually much of an asshole. He's a little shit, maybe, a little sassy asshole, but isn't actually a jerk. So, and yeah, and it also comes with I don't actually have much experience with birds. I know what it goes into to take care of a bird. I have an impression, I have an idea, but I don't actually know like what the tricks, what the body language of most birds are. That's kind of foreign to me. Cats, dogs, a little bit easier. Surprisingly, reptiles. I'm very intuitive to reptile behavior. I was sketching a bearded dragon, and I don't know what I did to spook him, but he decided to start trying to assert his dominance over me, and I just kind of laughed at it because it's not the first time that I've seen a lizard do that, especially a bearded dragon, and it just is silly to me because it's like, you trying to fight me right now? Why? What did I do? Why are you why are you upset? I'm not offended. I'm just confused. So it's stuff like that. Like I'm pretty adept at that. Haven't actually had as much experience with fish outside of fishing, but I think fishing still is a viable. I've worked with fish. I've worked with fish. I haven't cared for fish, but I've worked with fish. Honestly, I've worked with more dead fish than live fish, but hey, cooking salmon is fun. What can I say? It's actually a lot of fun. But yeah, like tonight, that was earlier today when I was working with the parrot. Tonight, I was we were, right now I'm at more of a training level that is before the serious training. Right now we're not at paid training. We're just doing observation, just going in, just whoever's there, sticking with them, seeing how they do their job. They can explain stuff. They've been really nice about that, and that's fine. I actually was going in with the expectation of not really being too invasive, but they still have been super helpful and supportive. It's been nice. Really enjoyed it. And they're all chill people, and it certainly is a child's establishment, but I feel like it'll be fine because they're all still kids also, and college age students and people my age, so I'll be working with people my age, so they all have the same sense of humor. It's fine. I don't feel like I'll be stepping on too many fingers, and I don't think I'll be, or on too many toes, and I don't think I actually make anything that controversial. Maybe stuff that people are like, why does Isaac like to draw so many girls? Damn it, I did it again. Not in this house. No one goes by that name in this house. But at this point, I'm kind of like, I don't think they're going to disparage my job, and it's not going to keep me from doing my job. So there is an element of this job where you have a bit of a social face, which is fine. I've always been good at balancing it. I don't believe in... I also agree that it's bullshit to have a private and a public face. I think it's more like you should have a version of you that is takeable out into public, or, able to be shown to children. It doesn't have to be different. It just has to be not worthy of you being arrested, I guess. Which, again, anything that I say like this, I'm like, I know, people know, you guys know, I'm not a fucking genius. I'm not a genius for coming to this realization. Sometimes it makes me wonder if people actually do understand. But I have faith in the people who follow me, because I will be relentless to idiots. Not to say that you need to be smart to like my stuff, just don't be an idiot, or else I'll call you out on it. I've finally gotten past that point in my life where, especially like, bullies and stuff, it's just like, no one is going, at this point in my life, no one is going to make more fun of me than me. I'm making that a point. I'm making that a point in my life. I will always give myself more shit than anyone can. And when you can make fun of yourself more than anyone else, and find it funny, nobody really can do anything to you. Nobody can really bother you. Nothing really can bother you at that point. What are they gonna do? To tell you something that you've never heard before? Probably. That's the worst they can do. And that's kind of my basic philosophy on how I hold myself in public, how I hold myself to people in general, is I make fun of myself. It's very... No one is funnier on the planet than you as an individual. If you can't really find your own stupidity funny, you're not going to find anything funny, I'll be honest. Everything's just going to be miserable, because you're just going to continue being a regular human being and fucking up all the time. And why would you do that to yourself? Why worry about stuff like that? I really do like that, even if I, overthink things, and usually my overthinking is manifested in the worry of not being necessarily embarrassed, but actually the opposite of, like, being so fucking blunt that it takes people off guard. Like, that's actually what I worry about, is, am I really worrying to people how fucking calloused I can be to certain things, and how really nonchalant and not caring I can be genuinely? I'm not saying, like, as a joke. I mean, sometimes people will be like, isn't this thing bad or horrible? And I'll be like, I guess. I don't care. I don't want it weighing on my conscience. That's actually something that bothers me, is that sense of people being more or less upset that I wouldn't be upset, I guess. We don't share the same things that upset each other, when in reality I'm like, it's not that I don't see why it upsets you, it just doesn't upset me, and I don't fucking care. And apparently it feels like sometimes to some people it's like actually an issue to them. Like, how can you not care about this? This is a real problem. I'm like, yeah, there are plenty of things that I care about that are very real problems that nobody gives two shits about. And I mean that honestly. Like, for example, with the topic of animals and environment, a lot of people do not care. A lot of people do not care. But it isn't necessarily the end of the world, because people are more or less apathetic to it. It's not they don't care, so stop fucking talking about it. It actually is more of just, don't worry about it. And people are allowed to do that. You can't make somebody worry about something they honestly couldn't give two shits about. You can try and educate and tell people, but if they are honestly not going out of their way of making the situation worse, they're really not at fault. You can't fault them. I don't think it's right to blame somebody for the burdens of people who actively make things worse. You know, when they have their own shit to worry about, they don't. Not everyone can, like, even me. I can't. Where I am currently, I can't fucking save the pandas. I can't save certain species, though. From my own ecological perception and standpoint, extinction is a totally natural process, and the circumstances of it being human-based, while a problem, still is, like, we should do something, but don't fucking make it worse by just shitting on humanity all the time. Never got that impression. I never understood that either. Like, if you want to encourage people to start fixing things, you should be encouraging by telling them what they can do, not how fucking shitty as a species we are. Like, we're a shitty species. Deer will eat. If a deer population gets out of control, they will eat so much of the food in the general area of them that they'll start starving themselves to death. And that's adverse to the environment. That's adverse to the environment. They are a burden on their environment. Animals are naturally burdens on their environments. Humans are not exempt from this. It is a shame that humans have a stronger impact than most other animals, but animals still have negative influence on their environments. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, because all they hear is how we're destroying the world. We're not fucking destroying the world. We're just making it worse for ourselves. That's the honest answer. The world doesn't fucking care. Well, the world isn't happy with it, but a lot of the processes that exist because of the things that exist on the planet, not the planet itself. You know, the water cycle, a lot of those things that are natural cycles will continue to happen so long as the components are around and available, and those components aren't going to disappear because of our existence. I really don't believe that. We have an impact on the environment, but not enough to completely destroy it. We'll always have an impact on the environment, because everything has an impact on the environment. Living beings destroy their surroundings. It's actually kind of natural that way. And that also doesn't take account for natural phenomenon, like extraterrestrial asteroids, forest fires, tsunamis. Those things happen. You can't... The world is not only not perfect, but regularly dangerous. The belief that we're the reason why it's going to hell. It's very immature. It's also very irresponsible. And it's very fucking disheartening, because you hear about it, and then people are like, man, we're all a bunch of shitheads. And then they're like, well, I still don't care. And you get an apathy of humanity, and it's just like, cool, great. Now I can't actually progress because everybody thinks that humanity is a bunch of fucking shitheads who are just going to destroy the planet. And things like, deer population aren't discussed. Things like how the environment itself affects itself. It's really annoying. It just... I find it so frustrating only because it really does lack an amount of compassion to it. It completely it completely demonizes us as the ultimate problem, rather than finding the elements of the problem to actually address. So instead, I think the conversation should be, this is something we're doing to adversely affect the environment. How does how has this happened before in the past, because you'd be surprised how many of these processes are actually natural in function. Just we as human beings exasperate them, like we cause them on accident, but it doesn't mean that they've never happened before naturally. Um, that is an actual conversation, because then we also get an impression of how things went. You get an understanding of what the world was like. You understand how long it took for the world to kind of like recover. It's just stuff like that. And it's just like that. That seems sensible to me. That's like it. it it's stuff like that where I'm like, why aren't we just focusing on telling people stuff like that? On actually encouraging them to, you know, think critically about how the environment is, not just how we impact the environment. Environment is a phenomenon, not a... Even nature itself is kind of a phenomenon in the grand scheme of how many planets exist with the exact same processes as Earth, but not at the scale that Earth can do to sustain life. Just fucking... And that's why I'm excited to work at this place, because there's still a focus on kids, and kids eat this up. They eat this shit up. They have a genuine curiosity for the world, because they don't really know it and understand it, I think, is why. And then when you get older, you get a quote-unquote understanding of the world. I'm a little annoyed that people are like, I get how the world works. I'm like, you don't need to stop there. There's always something new for you to learn. But, that's also a personal choice, and I don't demonize people who make that choice, because, fuck, we're all individuals. But, just don't be upset when somebody doesn't think farther than you do, or whatnot. That's all I say. But yeah, like, kids love environmental things. They think it's really cool because it's all new to them. Animals are new and interesting. They're these creatures that are kind of like us, but not really. There's just a lot to work with in the imagination. Kids have active imaginations, no matter how they are as kids. And a lot of animal wildlife inspires that, and that's fucking awesome. That's great. So yeah, environment, really just kind of just get a better grasp, I guess, and that's something I want to help with. I wouldn't mind helping with, like, coming on here and having things like this when I have a more of a science illustration, science background thing going on. Focus on discussing scientific processes, because scientific processes are unbiased. You should never think of how the human element, how the human the human element affects natural processes. I think that's unfair, because it's assuming that somehow humans have a unique effect on the environment outside of just being the cause, being human. I don't buy that, because natural processes are natural. Most processes are much more natural than people give them credit. And, they're ecology, geology, geological processes, the mechanics behind them are always the same, regardless if they're influenced by a human element. Let's take fracking, for example. I do not support and condone fracking. I don't think it is good. But the reason why I know it's not good is not because it is unnatural. It is not good because it just causes something to happen where it shouldn't. And if that still sounds like it's unnatural, well, bear with me. Fracking, if you don't know what that is the concept where you go into a seam of or a layer dirt. You drill a hole down, and you're trying to look for some sort of. Usually, it's for, I believe, natural gas. You frack for natural gas because it helps release the gas. And what it is you take that hole and you fill the hole with water. You start injecting water into the ground, and then that will start going into the natural seams of the earth and will cause a rupture in the earth. The thing that is a problem with fracking is it causes faulting zones in places that shouldn't exist. And that's all. It is just, here's the natural thing. Here's the thing that is causing this, and it's just humans did it. That's all. Because faulting and fracturing is a normal geological process that happens all over the world. So the San Andreas Fault, this is a fault. And the processes that it undergoes are completely normal and natural. Fracking causes these same conditions, and that is it. That is all the information that people need to get out of that. And that is, with that understanding, I think you get less of an impression of humans are doing something unnatural. No, we're doing something completely natural. We're doing a completely natural process in an artificial setting, if that makes sense. We're doing it in a place where it probably shouldn't happen, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't happen there, and it doesn't mean it doesn't happen at all. I think people get the impression that things that humans do don't happen in nature naturally. And that's just not true. That's not true at all. 80% of we just do them in place. We cause the processes to happen, and then they have a human origin, but the processes in themselves aren't unnatural. To go to ecology, the concept of an invasive species is actually a very natural one. Humanity is just a bunch of idiots. It's a great way to describe our interaction with the environment. We're just a bunch of fucking idiots. But in invasive species, you'll be like, what do you mean, Link? That does sound like something that is human influenced. And the reason why it's not a human process is because invasive species have been something that are a plague to ecosystems from the dawn of time. A lot of extinctions are actually due to environmental elements allowing a species that normally shouldn't be found where it would be being relocated somehow in large enough numbers that they can get a foothold and start overtaking the environment. And that's actually natural, quote-unquote natural. That does happen in nature. It happens. The biggest thing humans do that it's just kind of bad is we do everything faster. We make all these processes happen faster. But that's it. They still happen in nature. They still happen all the time. I don't remember the exact example, but I want to say there's like there was an extinction where part of the reason why it went so poorly is because of invasive species getting introduced to parts of the world due to environmental factors. For all intents and purposes, the reason why there were mammoths in America is because land bridges existed. And, they were able to move from one continent to the other. That is actually completely natural. Yet it could still be considered an invasive population because they are not initially native to where they're from. And that's... Armadillos. Armadillos are a good example. They're even a better example because they're an example of a natural process. I cannot see how armadillos are a human-caused invasive species unless I'm missing some information. I might have to look it up. I might look up later. My understanding is armadillos are just coming. They're just coming from the south. They're just walking their way from across Mexico from South America. Humans didn't bring armadillos to North America. North America, within the last, couple centuries, armadillos were not native to more northern parts of America. They aren't native to Kansas. They aren't native to Missouri. But they're still here. But people didn't bring those. People didn't bring armadillos from the south. At least I don't think they did. And it just is they're coming up because they can live up here now, because the environment is allowing them to. And that, it's still natural. It's a different kind of invasive species. And it was, again, I want to make sure and double check my facts. I'll look it up. But the way I'm thinking about it, knowing where armadillos come from, there really is no human reason that I can think of off the top of my head why armadillos are coming to northern parts of America. Since they are a southern animal. They are more known for Texas down. Like, that's kind of their habitat and environment. So, animals don't care. Animals don't care about borders. They don't actually give a shit. They don't care about what lives there already. Like, it's a shame that invasive species happen because of humans due to our stupid decisions, but they didn't. The invasive species then isn't really at fault because they're just living in a new place, and out-competing things. And it doesn't mean they're better. It just means they might have come from a place where the wildlife there is a little bit more extreme, actually. The ability to survive was harder. That's typically what I get the impression of how an invasive species propagates so well. That's kind of my thought process. Is think of it like if you were like, if you're a frickin', Navy SEAL, and you've been all over the world, and you like get a job in a police force, and you've like been grizzled and hardened to that environment, you're probably going to treat that job differently and more intensely than somebody who's just going to be a cop. I'm not saying that necessarily a Navy SEAL is going to be better at the job, but they probably will do things much, much more intensely than a normal just cop would. Bad example? Maybe. I don't know. But it's, again, it has nothing to do with anything biased. Nature is not biased. It doesn't give a shit. I've said it. I'll say it again. That's kind of the good thing about it. It really is much more resilient than we give it credit, or else the world would be uninhabitable, I think. Nothing would live on it. I want a respect. I want to encourage a better respect of the environment, because, like, we're responsible for our own effects on the environment, not the environment itself. I think a lot of people think that because we as a species have this ability to, be cognizant of what we do and how we affect the environment, we should then be responsible for it. No. Not really. Not in that sense. Because the environment isn't responsible for itself. How many... 99% of life is extinct. Most things that have lived on the planet are dead. And I don't mean that to be a fucking cynic, and I don't mean that to encourage the thought of, well, there's no point in caring. Care about the environment, but we are responsible for what we do to the environment, not the environment itself. We're not responsible for the health of the environment if we are avoiding impacting it or doing our best to take care of it based on what we do to it. That's what I get at. And that's because things are going to die off naturally. Things are going to die in the wild. Things are going to propagate. Things are going to move around. Animals are going to move around, outcompete themselves, outcompete each other. Humanity is not responsible for how the environment handles itself. Humanity is only responsible for what it does to it. And that is what I want to instill and address to people is you want to care because the environment exists, not because we have a responsibility to it. We don't have a responsibility to it. That's bullshit. We have a responsibility to the human condition and ourselves. But the environment itself, we do not. The actual condition of the environment, however it plays out, if we were to, and I don't agree with this either, if we were somehow to remove the entirety of the human nature from the environment, things would fuck themselves up. Like, that in itself is a natural process. The environment screws itself over. We just have to be able to live with it, not for it or against it. And I think that is something that is very real. That is something very achievable by humanity. And I think it's something that people do, you know? I believe that we wouldn't have so many scientists and geologists if people didn't actively give a shit. You know? So, we just have to continue striving to find those ways. I finally ended my soapbox, I think. Is there anything that I missed? Did anybody fact check me? Did you make sure I was spewing the shit out of my ass? That's what I want to hear. If somebody did it, please tell me, because I do not want to be spewing actual bullshit. Trust me, I want to be valid in the things I say. And to do that, you need to kind of be a little self-aware and be like, no, I said the right things, I hope. Hope. But yeah, if that makes sense to, everybody, that's why I do get a little disheartened when, people don't really care about the environment. That's why I think people like, Steve Irwin and a lot of nature shows were important, because they showed animals, they showed the environment and ecology, and didn't just bash over our heads. We're ruining this. Fucking. Well, even if it's true, it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't make you want to be a better human being. Actually. Telling you that you're the reason why the planet's dying. Does that make you want to do anything? Does that even make you want to listen to the person telling you that? Like, and that is, yeah. That true. Thanks for like I said, always fact check me, please, especially with that one, because I was like, I have an understanding. I can kind of be like, fracking is these core ideas and mentalities. Thank you for covering me on that. It still brings up the point of, overall, the process of fracking, the way it is done, is something that can happen naturally. But yeah, it's still not good that, they use chemicals that do poison environments and whatnot. Like, that is still not okay. I'm not saying that those things aren't okay. So, don't think I'm saying that either. It's just, it doesn't solve anything. Just bash it over people's heads. Planet's dying. Human beings are fucking the worst thing that ever happened to the planet. Please. We're not the best, but we're not... If we're the worst, oh fucking well. The planet, in a lot of ways, the planet is horrible to the very things that live on it. So I can't say if we're the best or the worst, but we certainly are not required to actually take responsibility for it, because the planet's gonna do whatever the fuck it wants. with or without us. We'll kill ourselves more likely than anything else. But yeah, no, thank you, Jurator, and always, like, call me if I am just being completely wrong. Please, for the love of fucking God, correct me. I don't want to continue a perpetuated idea that people shouldn't be corrected and it be the end of the world. I want to be I want to be questioned maturely. The difference between questioning something because you understand that the individual might be saying something incorrectly and questioning something because like it's such a weird topic too because I'm not discouraging skepticism. It's just, I've kind of discussed this. I'm discouraging the kind of skepticism that is not helpful. There is bad skepticism. There's skepticism that doesn't feel like it has any place. And I think that skepticism comes from the wanting to sound like you're talking about something and that you know what you're saying. Because for me, I want to sound like I know what I'm saying, but I want to make sure that I'm saying it correctly. I want to make sure that it is clear that I know what I'm talking about. And if you can fucking call me out on anything that I do, do it. Because I don't want to be spreading lies. I don't want to be spreading misinformation. I don't talk about the things that I talk about to wax my brain penis. I don't actually think I'm that smart of a person. I just like discussing things. So yeah. Yeah, and it's only so frustrating because it's like, then people will say, well, it's just my opinion. Your opinion sucks. That's what I gotta say about your opinion. Like, you need to have the responsibility to actually support your claims. You can't just be like, well, you're just trying to limit my ability to think. No, you're trying to limit mine, actually. You're trying to say that I can't think or say the things that I'm saying, usually is the impression that I get when people are like that. And I feel like most of the time, those people I just kind of ignore or troll. Maybe I'm an asshole for doing that, but I feel like I've finally learned that assholes have the right to exist. We all have one. But, people can be dicks. If anything, a mature person doesn't give the dick any fucking attention. That's the mature thing to do. So maybe I'm immature for giving them attention and kind of stroking their egos by being an asshole in return. Maybe that's my fault. I certainly will take responsibility for it, though. I'm not going to be like, why is this guy being a jerk? Because I'm being a fucking jerk back. So I love playing with assholes. What can I say? Don't get my stream taken down, guys. God, fucking people are gonna learn about this. I really hope. Listen, I'm good with kids. I promise. I won't do this shit around kids. This is all the adult humor in me. I don't think I'm gonna lose my job because I do stuff like this, but can't really make jokes like that at work. So, but yeah, and I also get that I shouldn't get free reign. People should be able to say, fucking prove it, or, should be able to be opposed to anything that I say or anything I do, and it is on the responsibility of the accused, I guess. It is, though, however, there is an amount of innocence that the accused should still sustain. Like, not to get really super lawful about this, like, you know, because I was thinking about this before, and I think one of my big problems with something like it's something like with politics, you know, when somebody asks you what your political views are, that's kind of not fair to the individual getting asked that question. Because it means that whatever your political beliefs are is going to cause a judgment, but it wasn't consented on your part. And nobody can judge you for being like, I'd really rather not discuss it. And I'm suddenly realizing that people can't also pin you to the wall for being like, clearly he has some controversial thoughts because he's not willing to be open about his political beliefs. Fuck, I just don't care about my political beliefs. They're not important to me. They're fucking not. And nobody can hold that against you if they're the ones asking you to admit your own beliefs to something. Like, somebody who attacks you for something you believe in after they asked you to admit that you believed in it, they're the ones in the wrong, no matter what their stance is and no matter what your stance is. Nobody is ever obligated to express how they feel about something if somebody else asks. I think that is actually a valid statement. You are not required to admit your personal beliefs if for whatever reason you believe that that the intent of that being asked of you is against yourself. Like, because it shouldn't fucking matter. It really shouldn't matter. You should be judged for the things that you are openly expressing, not the things that people ask of you. If someone asks your opinion of something, and then they judge you harshly for it, how is that your fault? They're the ones asking the question. They're the ones actually not being open up to your mentality and mindset when all you're doing is answering their question. You know? That's not fair. It's not fucking fair. Sure, the world's not fair. I get that. But still, that's not cool. And I don't stand behind people who would try to do that. It's very manipulative. It's very asshole. It's a very asshole thing to do. Because it's entrapment. It's getting you to admit a guilt that you didn't even know you should have guilt for. And that's not fucking okay. This is just the douche thing to do. Don't do that. You do that, you're a douchebag. You know, nobody is required to admit what they believe to anyone other than the people that they want to know those things. You know? Like, I'm as open with you guys because it is a part of my stance to be like, I don't actually say anything controversial. I don't express myself in a way that feels like I should be harshly judged in reality. And that people can hold me to that based on the things that I say and do. Openly. Not the things that I say in private, and not the things that I hold to myself. Because everybody does shit that they don't fucking admit. You know? So why would you... And maybe I'm exaggerating. I want to believe, again, that, you know, I'm just... that isn't something, maybe not that it doesn't exist at all, but it certainly is not something that is actually that common. And I do. I wanna believe that people are better than that. You know, people don't go out of their way to be little shitheads like that. I know that that isn't always the case. There are always going to be bad people that exist, but, you know, that people are actually, you know, not going to be assuming like that. And I actually think most people aren't. You know, it's only obnoxious because the individual keeps harping on about it, not because it is their belief. You know, that's why I think it really is annoying that that is often used to get a leg up in some sort of moral fight. Is like, well, what's your feelings about this? People should be allowed to abstain from their personal feelings on something because their personal feelings aren't objective criteria. They certainly aren't wholesome judges of character. Everyone has more than just their opinions. Or their opinions are more than just the manifestations of specific concepts. Everybody has an opinion that they know isn't popular, I'm sure. Oh boy. Did not mean to close that. Well, over my ramblings, the legs are actually coming out fantastic. The middle looks fucking boring. I'm trying to figure out what to do with it, with that abdomen. I'm really trying to play with it. What I'm actually having difficulty is getting the shape. I'm having some problems figuring out how I want that to look, I guess, if that makes sense. Especially with like light, because right now it just looks like flat. It just looks like somebody took some paint and like slapped their hand on it. It was like, there's some paint there. Oh my god. This was kind of going back to that consistency thing I was talking about. Consistency is very important, especially with art. And it's not to say that I'm wholly inconsistent. It's just I also recognize I can be very inconsistent. You know, like, nothing in life is all or nothing, of course. So being able to admit I have some consistency problems doesn't mean I suck. I don't think I suck. It's something I need to work on. And when it comes to, sometimes it's just like, the legs started coming out really good, but the body, I'm just like, I don't fucking know what I want to do with that. Even though I know how to make shapes and stuff. Maybe I jumped the gun. Maybe I need to focus on my base paint and then add the color, the red. So maybe I'll do that. And if there's anything I want to establish with my drawing, with my artistic prowess, is that this is as much a kind of a learning experience for me as it is for everyone else. Because the reality is I am still very much kind of a novice in a lot of ways. I've been doing this since I was a kid. But it doesn't mean I'm an expert. I don't think I'm anywhere near being an expert. But it doesn't mean that I shouldn't try. And I think that is something I can use to my own personal advantage when sharing and creating things, because it means that my content is original, not because it's based on my skill purely, but it's based on the experience of seeing how something is developed. You know, every skill that you learn is something that you have to learn through trial and error over time, no matter what. I don't care what people say. Their trial and error varies from person to person, but it's always a trial and error. If somebody learns from books, their trial and error is going through books, figuring out the information that works for them. But it's still a trial and error process, because I highly doubt that they read every book and are like, this book helped me. They probably have to find the right books. And to become, it's one thing to be able to do something. To be able to do something and to be able to master something is wildly different. To be able to do something, you just need to know how to accomplish a task. To be able to master something, you need to be able to understand why you are able to do that. And that is always something that I'm striving for with pretty much anything. That's not a brag. Humble brag. Just how I fucking am. I hate you, Arthur. You and really pointing out how I humble brag everything. I try not to. It's like it's a bad habit. I fucking hate that I do that shit. Humble bragging pisses me off. Cause it's like, I'm not though. I'm trying to be fucking humble. Because on one hand, I wanna recognize that I don't suck at things, but on the other, I want to be like, look at how fucking good I am at this thing. When in reality, I know I'm certainly nowhere near to being proficient enough to claim that I'm masterwork. No, I am nowhere close, and that's why it's like I really I appreciate it. I appreciate when people are like, you're Link, you're still an amazing artist. You're very good at this." And I'm like, I know, I know, but I see what I do and I see what other artists are like, and it's just like I can't help it. I can't help but compare it. It's it's nauseating. It's like I still am not good enough, you know, because I see how I'm lazy or how I don't accomplish things, and I'm like I I want to be known for my art. I don't want to be known for how I fucking put off things, like, you know, how this image that I started last week, I couldn't get into it, and you know how it's taken me a week to get to this point, and while it does, I would agree, it does look good. It's certainly not finished, and it's not something I want to be like, there you go, have at it. Like I want to make more finished works. Finished works should be the basis for my portfolio, regardless of what those works are. I'm getting to the point that my portfolio is an example of all of the things that I do, not just my best work. Because my best work isn't always one form of thing, I guess. At least not for me. Um, it's scientific illustration, it's art and design, it's all sorts of things. But that's just me, you know? There, now this is starting to look a little bit better. I think I just needed to add more of that blue for the iridescence. So, and depth. And with art, with painting especially, a lot of it is it, it actually is more than just understanding how something looks. It's also kind of having an understanding of how to make something look correct without needing to follow rules even. It's not I add this color so it reflects perfectly. Instead it's more like I added a little blue to give it the depth, to give it that sheen that it needs to just to look correct, not because it's the way it should look. I didn't go into this forethought thinking this part's going to be lighter than this part. It was more like, okay, where can I add some color to make this look more deep? How can I add parts to this to make it to stand out more? We haven't even don't think I've oh no, the hand moved. Well, because oh shit. I'll move this down a little bit. Because we resized it and stuff. Don't think I've forgotten about too many hands. Don't you worry. He will be a Spider-Man. Don't you fucking think I've forgotten about the horrors that I'm actually gonna impart on everyone. So, don't think I've forgotten about too many hands. I will never forget. But yeah, like art, it's weird, especially being a someone who does you know, something as meticulous as science illustration. Science illustration sounds like something that you would want to not. You would want it to be super attentive and super detail oriented. And there's an element of that. You want your subjects to look correct. You want them to look accurate. But there is still, for me, I do that through manipulating the object, not through copying. I, th- I still I still think a real artist doesn't just copy. They don't just see what something is. They don't just see a picture of something. They don't see how somebody else did it and mimic it. They they do it with an understanding of how they made that thing happen. Like, I understood that in order to get this sheen, I needed to add a little bit more blue. You know, it wasn't I looked at a picture. In fact, you want to see the picture I'm using right now? One second. Let me do background music. Yeah, here we go. You want to see the picture that I'm actually using? That this is the image. Like, I don't know what the fuck blue I need to use. It just kind of happens. You just gotta get into a mindset of, how do I make something formed the way that I want it to be when you don't have a reference. The most reference you have is maybe on proportion, I think. And that's kind of what I was going at. And I still think I fucked up parts of that. Because, like, if you look at the front legs, they're way too short. And maybe that makes me a bad science illustrator, but again, I kind of had a couple things that I should do. Ooh, I should fix a lot of things on this. This is just bad. Part of the problem is it is harder to. The setup that I currently have is I can't look at that reference all the time. I have to switch between them. That's kind of a bad habit. You want to have your reference on hand handily, where you can compare the two. Because if you look between them, they do look very radically different. Again, it kind of helps that this is not a real spider that I'm drawing. But it does mean I want to fix a lot, because like things like the abdomen are the abdomen's too big. And the shape's all wrong. But maybe I need to do that. I need to like go to you might see me start popping up my reference on screen. Oh, well, I wasn't actually drawing. I was drawing there for a second. Sorry about that. But I might do this a couple times. And it's just to kind of to get a reference of where I'm fucking things up. And that's a part of it. You just got to realize, man, I fucked it up. Time to fix it. And that's a nice thing about digital art, I'll say, is digital art is much easier to manipulate. It's much easier to catch your fuck-ups. That's for damn sure. It's much easier to fix those mistakes. Because with real medium, you just kind of stuck, especially with permanent mediums like pen. Like, there are ways to manipulate them with an eraser, but it isn't quite the same as this, where you can get these really, really crisp, really, really, really good, strong cuts. Though I have found a technique for permanent, though it is still like you want to save this for kind of the last thing to do, is you take like if you're working in physical media, let's say you're working on colored pencil. A good way to pull out whites is not to use a white colored pencil. It is to take an X-Acto knife, maybe a pair of scissors if that's all you have, and just very lightly start scraping at the paper. You don't want to be cutting into the paper. There might be an element of the image, or an element where you are like almost scraping off the paper on top, but what you want to aim for is just scraping off the pencil itself. And that will bring out that white, instead of trying to color over it. And it's things like that you just gotta kind of fucking learn through trial and error. And technique. But yeah, like most physical media, I think it has more of a positive feedback because you can bite into the paper. I can't bite into my tablet, and even then it's causing problems. I keep on smoothing down the tip of my tablet so the top is not even, and it fucks up with my line drawing sometimes, and it makes for really uneven drawing. Like that's just a problem with tablets. But you need to always, if you see that you're doing something wrong, I err on the side of work with what you already have. You know, you don't have to scrap something entirely. You know, kind of. Dizzy again. I need to pay attention. Sorry, you got to see a picture of an actual spider for a couple of seconds there. This I just had to remember. You know, when I go out of the when I go back to drawing, I just got to make sure that it's back to this. And I think one thing I did here was I made the abdomen a bit oblong, and I made it a little too. I didn't make it thick enough, and I made the body kind of like jut out of it instead of like being what it actually is, which is kind of like hovering on top. It's kind of above, and the body's like more below it. And also, like, the head is just much smaller than the abdomen is. Yeah. I see what I did wrong. The abdomen kind of also goes up like this and back around. And see, it's like, a lot of this is just from kind of like understanding, I guess, how natural shapes kind of move around. And it's all practice, you know. That's why I say blind drawings are important. They give you a better understanding of how a shape should work. There, that looks a little bit better. Then if I go back... Yeah, like the body isn't quite that round. It is actually a little bit more oblong. And then it has two spots. Those are actually eyes. Those are the eyes. The eyes aren't, I do not believe the eyes are near the front. I'm going to kind of zoom in on this. It's a kind of bad picture. It probably looks like shit on your guys's. Well, here, one second. There. It's a little better. There. That's a little better. You can kind of see what I'm talking about now. But yeah, like the eyes are actually right in the middle of the body. That's what those kind of two black dots that I have. They're just placeholder. You know. But this actually kind of edges out a little bit more. And another thing with another one, when you see me doing this with the eraser, a lot of manipulation and really making things look correct is actually understanding where you need to have sudden kind of like quirks, if that makes sense. So like instead of it just being perfectly smooth, where do you add like a little bit of a sudden exaggeration to make something differentiated from the back? And you'd be surprised how much more realistic that looks in many cases. Like with trying to think. Also, let me go ahead. I did it again. Local man ruined stream. Well, now it just won't even work. That's cool. For some reason, it won't pop up anymore. Oh, that's why. Like, if we look at the abdomen, it actually is a bit over where the body is, and then it actually has more of a kind of oblong shape near the bottom, where it doesn't go into the body. It actually is kind of above the body. So it actually... It is more rounded. Which I kind of started, but then I kind of fucked it up a little bit. And part of that is like knowing how to make strokes, pop and stuff. Because like once I figured out how to really manipulate stroke weight with brushes and stuff, and I've played with a lot of brushes, and for whatever reason, I mean, I'm gonna continually practice and try to find better brushes, of course. I just find that the kind of regular brush works best for me. I mean, I might try a couple of different kinds of brushes, but most of the time, just the regular brush works best, from my experience. Especially for, like, the eraser. It just really crispens a lot of parts. So, yeah. So, yeah. Hopefully that looks a little bit better. Don't say left and on. Damn it! You guys actually want to watch me draw. I don't know why I keep doing that. Local man ruined stream. Gets arrested. SWAT called. Don't swat me. I swear. I swear to God. Don't tase me, bro. But yeah, it looks a little better. I think that's a little better. And that's I find it interesting from like watch the way that I kind of like perceive how I go about doing this. Oftentimes it feels like I start with one thing and then I end with something completely different. Like, for most of the time, most of this I was drawing with that really longish body, and it wasn't until now that I was like, I'm gonna fix this because it's wrong. Like, I just feel like that's a habit of mine. I need to kind of extend those front limbs, and round out the back a little bit more, but I always feel like that's a big part of what I do, is much more focused on like just getting something started and then working with whatever I have. It I feel like on one hand that's not really a good practice I should have. I feel like I should be trying to err on the side of getting things correct more quickly. But I would still rather like be like, oh well, I gotta just do better next time. Because I gotta build that muscle memory. You don't do that by not practicing, not working with your mess ups, because then you figure out how to fix your mess ups too. Figure out how to solve those problems faster when you see them start to arise. They're more of a challenge than anything. Now it should look much more correct, and I should just start elongating these legs. which means I'll probably have to shrink it again, but here we go. I was wondering why it wasn't working. What do you think? Do you think the legs look fine? Yeah, no. Also feel like if I shrink it, it'll make the abdomen look a little bit better. I need to kind of edge off the side there, but... Oh shit, I did it again. Ha! I remember this time. I can't fuck it up every single time. Ho ho. Yeah. I mean, the legs are okay. I just kind of want to... That's why I'm like... That's where you kind of have to draw the line. It's like, on one hand, I'm already not drawing a realistic animal. This is not... this isn't an orb weaver. This is a spider who will potentially have human hands that's colored like Spider-Man. Like, but on the opposite, I do want to make it clear that, you know, I am a science illustrator. Science illustration is something that I pride myself on. I have a lot of works that I would consider much more technical and scientific. Like just to kind of sport a few. Oh no. Sorry, I see you there, you little shit. To kind of share a couple. This. Like this is kind of like I would call my more crowning work. This is like one of my personal favorite works from college, and like the best example of when I can really get into science illustration, what I can actually get out of it. Like this is a fossil flower that I drew. The fossil's at the top. That is a photo. That's a photograph. And then the illustration at the bottom is me doing my best to make a flower. And that is the kind of illustration that I want to portray as my ability to recreate something. So when I see that there's butt, when I see that the legs aren't as long, it's not that the legs look bad. It's do I want to rework the legs because in the reality is these legs aren't proportionally correct to the reference that I'm using, like hardly at all, or do I want to be like they look correct for the image, and do I just want to leave it the way it is? And so those kind of things that does make it a little bit more difficult when you're being an artist. Like it's something that I consider, especially with, because like part of me is like, but this isn't an orb weaver, you know. It's just the reference I'm using. Art in reality is kind of whatever you want it to be. Anybody who gives you shit for things that something doesn't have, it is a little bullshit to make that a talking point if you weren't intending and adding that originally. Like unless you tell me something and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, I guess I should have added that. Fine, then I did it wrong. But if somebody's like, your art sucks because it doesn't have this, and this, and I'm like, well, I considered that, and I don't see how it needs those things, then I can be more on the arguing side of, yeah, you don't need to be 100% realistic sometimes even. And then it also was like, yeah, I did say I wanted to do a science illustration, but I spent the last 3 hours on this image, and I don't really want to redo the legs. Also, to kind of speed things along, because I want to go to bed by 2 and not have the same thing happen last time. I'm going to go ahead and focus on kind of like almost making this almost watercolor-esque, and just like, well, sorry, that's the image you get. Again, I want to make a finished thing with this. You know, the other one was much more of a technical thing, and I don't want to suddenly be like, I'll finish this one too on my end, or else it will never get done anyways. But you know, I want to leave you with something, you know. So I'll finish on the I'll focus on the background pattern and maybe give this a little depth. It needs something. I just think that the back or the legs they're just too short. The legs of the weaver are much longer. They extend way farther. Like if you look just between them, they're almost half the size in my image. They need to be much longer and much bigger. But for the front legs, the back legs are okay. One of the third digit legs, the ones between the farthest rear and the two front legs, I find that those ones on my image are actually longer than they need to be. But that's also almost getting to semantics. Like, yeah, okay, and I'm being a little harsh on myself, but also another thing I want to do is like a big part of the orb weaver is symmetry, you know. So you kind of want to be thinking. I love designs. I love patterning. It's not easy. It is very difficult. Like I keep fucking it up here too. But it is like it is really cool. Patterns are awesome. Yeah, I might do that. I might give a little bit of a backdrop. We'll see. Like I said, I've kind of like, I'm gonna go over really quick and just be like, uh, eh, eh, eh. So that way the legs aren't hovering and just kind of filling some stuff there and kind of fucking filling some things here. And I feel like I'm still not using quite the right settings that I want, because for some reason it's like really, really. Well, I could also start playing with the smudge tool. I've kind of stopped playing with the smudge tool because it often lags. But the smudge tool is a great way to like just kind of move things around really quickly. That's how I did that. A lot of that that flower image is just the smudge tool, and I think smudging is a great technique because it's not the smudges there are they're whatever color you have, but you're just pushing it around essentially, if that makes sense. So wherever you start, it just moves it, almost. Hence the smudge. Hence the phrase, it's a smudge. Gives it a much more, like, clay look to it as well, and it just kind of smooths out a lot of the, like, kind of more artificially looking parts. So, here, I'll just go over the smudge tool really quick with a lot of this, and then get in that pattern, and I think I could call it good. Might go ahead and add a little bit more pigment here. And I don't know why I stopped using this, because it seems to not be lagging now. I remember like having some issues where it was like lagging really bad for some reason, but I really do like the smudge tool. I think it's awesome. It's kind of like the eraser, but a little bit more manipulative. It just allows you to kind of like mess with the midtones a little bit better. Yeah, that kind of be. And then there's also other things like the burn tool and stuff. But I actually do like picking my own pigments. for darkness and stuff. So I think it just looks more like painting that way when you do that. If that makes sense. So and now I'm starting to, strangely enough, at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm starting to actually get my my feeling. I'm starting to get my feel. Oh well, can't be perfect. Perfection is not. I want to encourage people to really just embrace the idea of being able to do something without feeling that you need to feel like you are proficient at it. It's not what needs to be important. It's whether or not you enjoy doing it, you know. And the proficiency at something will come with time, but it's not something required to be able to share it. If as long as you show that you genuinely enjoy doing it, you know? Because it's difficult. It's hard. It's not something intuitive. It's oftentimes something very, very stressful and strenuous. But with time, you can learn most things. And it doesn't mean you have to be immediately good at it. It's kind of bullshit. It helps, but it's not a requirement in any way. And, fuck, I'm on the wrong layer. That's why I was like, why is this not doing anything? Let me make sure this is, okay, good. Being a little paranoid, but happens. And then, you know, with a lot of tooling, it just comes with understanding what you need to do to get the effect that you want. Like what size you need something, what opacity. Do I need to use the smudge or whatnot? Like, stuff like that. And I like the smudge just because it kind of like softens things and really allows you to mess with them in a way without, you know, completely ruining everything, I guess. Kind of. But it doesn't look quite like paint. So I'll give it that. It does kind of do some weird stuff and makes this look kind of flatter, but eh. Go ahead, wrap this up. It's not perfect, but like I said, I do want to work towards, you know, more final products, more, not products, but, you know, more finished works. And I can't do that if I'm too, not incapable, but just not trying to get to that point, I guess. And you just gotta work with what you have sometimes. That's fine. I don't even remember like any sort of designs that Spider-Man really has, so I'm just kind of going for it. And I'm not going to care what the orb weaver's design is, because this is kind of to mess with the actual patterning, and like, because animal patterning is a bit different. Animal patterning has more of a it's very well defined in different places. It's not like really shaded. It's actually much more particular. Like if we look at the back of the spider, the orb weaver, like you can see where the yellow and the black stop and end. They don't blend into each other. They don't take on anything. They are just, that's yellow and that's black. A lot of animal colors are like that. They are very, very stark. If that makes sense. They're very well defined. It makes them difficult, but it makes them a lot of fun in a lot of ways. Like I said, maybe I'll just focus on finishing this up. Draw a spider on my spider. Nah. It's gonna have one human hand, though. So much for too many hands. I'm really disappointed with that. Unfortunately, I just ran out of time. I don't want... It's not even a matter of just, like, I probably should go to bed soon because I gotta do stuff really early in the morning. It's also, like, I do want to get to a point where I'm not fucking spending hours on one image. Because you guys want to see. I'm sure you want to see me finish these. I want to see me finish these. I want to see me do more art. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I like that. Yeah, a little bit of a tick there. Give it an actual pattern look. Yeah, you get the idea. That actually looks pretty good. Doesn't look like an orb weaver, but kind of fell off that train a while ago now, didn't I? This guy's a hack. You didn't even draw a fucking Spider-Man. You just drew a shitty-looking spider with some colors that look like Spider-Man would use. Let it be known and remembered. It's kind of the theme of my content and channel is disappointment. It's something I'm very good at. There. That works pretty well. And it just looks... That's another thing, is like, you can just make something look cool. It doesn't have to make sense. That's... It is weird with expression, because, like, I want to make something that, you know, is impactful or whatnot, but I find that oftentimes that comes from when I just make it look the way that it looks correct, rather than try to do a particular effect or anything. So... I think it's better that you should have it come out the way that you think looks best to you, and not worry about, you know, does it portray this better, or does it, because true expression is going to be personal. It really is. It's why I joke kind of semi and kind of am a little annoyed that I keep doing this. Because on one hand, I feel like some of my really, really good arts are like really upsetting looking, and I'm really sorry for that, because I don't want to give off the impression that I'm an upsetting individual. I really am not. I don't think I am. Okay, it depends. So, I feel like I upset my friends, and I don't mean to, but I'm allowed to do that because they're my friends. But yeah, that's kind of might brighten up here a little bit. Add a little bit more red. And there we go. Just go ahead. I don't know if that looks correct. Eh. A little bit there. This kind of has more of a chalky look to it, I guess. But yeah. It's not my best, but he's okay. He waves. He says hi. Look at him wave. Shit. Actually, you really want this to be creepy. This is a little thing I learned recently. You see this little doodad here? You put it wherever you want it, and then it will change proportions and things based on that median point. Bye-bye. Do you feel disgusted yet? It's things like that I'm just like, man, I actually am glad I love animating so much. I can do stuff like that. But, yeah. Fucking... I think it's more the circumstances. I've only had really 4 hours of sleep over the last 24 hours. I'm probably going to go to bed. I feel exhausted. This... It's coming up. I'll get it eventually. It'll be... It is next on the chopping block. If you've seen how much work I've done on it, I'm working on it. I'm going to finish it. Not gonna... I actually like how this picture is coming out a lot. I want to see it finished. So, I feel like it's coming out actually really good. And I kind of agree with the guy, you know? Sometimes you work on something, you might learn something, but it doesn't always come out quite the way you want it. Maybe, on one hand, I might not erase it. I might still be like, hey, look at this thing. If you missed the last stream, this is what came out, even if it looks like ass. But, I should still be like, you know what? It's done. I'll go ahead, share it. I'm not going to touch it anymore. You know, that is something I don't want to work myself to death. It is definitely a medium. You got to find where you can get something looking good and not forcing yourself to spend unending amount of hours on it. So, yeah. And it's disappointing. I hate it because